live. How's that? Technology is beautiful, right? All right, good to go when you are. Welcome, everybody, to episode 187, I think it is, of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. Is it 170? Is it 187 or 188?
And let's start again.
Let's start again. I'm going to go to our podcast.
I thought what I wrote was correct. Yeah, so it's 188.
It's 188.
It's hard. It's hard with all the because
right.
we done these extra episodes.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Hang on, I'll just put it here. My brain hurts.
It's all good.
Everyone on YouTube's going, "What are you talking about?" This is how the magic happens.
Oh man.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 188 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We are your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. And Russell, I believe you have been a very busy man this week. You caught up...
Slightly sleep deprived.
I was going to say, it was some ungodly time of the morning.
Slightly.
Unfortunately, I couldn't be there. I actually wish I was for this. But you caught up with Chris Gorlick.
Yeah.
He's responsible
Las Vegas
for
based.
That article, wasn't it? The Regulate the
Wrote
Hobby.
an article. Really busy guy in the hobby, actually, which I didn't realize. He's a full-time breaker. He edits a magazine.
Yeah.
He writes articles, obviously. So just, yeah, interesting guy and good to get his insights about it. And the other thing I didn't realize too was that his background was gaming. So the prism that he looks at cards is through that background of gaming laid on top of the probability and chance part. So really good conversation with that. And
yeah, like that would, I'm really sad that I missed it, really. Like but that's all right. I guess
I reckon he'll come back on, man,
he will. This will be
chat
great
with you
because I'm very curious. So without further ado, let's go and listen to that interview. And for everybody on the YouTube, obviously you won't be able to listen to that interview. Please check out the latest episode, which will be 188 of the podcast, and yeah, will be where you get to hear the full. It'll be part 1, part 2, I believe. It goes for about 40 minutes. That interview.
Correct. Alrighty, Ad, we're back. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. It's it's very interesting times with you and Mr. Gorlick. I'm sure we'll be touching base again. Let's because I've got thoughts on regulating as well, as we all
I think
know.
you'd be keen to have a chat with you, mate. Honestly, we need to get you two together. Alrighty, let's talk. Our next segment is going to be about the Pokemon card thefts that are happening across Melbourne at the moment.
Yeah, let's give some context for our, I suppose, our global listeners, even outside of Victoria, because it's very local. This is local to us. But I think it's a national problem. It could be, we saw the madness going on around the world. So it's not like we're the only ones that are affected by this, but I think we're in the midst of almost like a crime wave.
I feel like globally the problems they have with Pokemon are more people fighting in Walmarts or fighting in Targets.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have that same type of cultural phenomenon happening, but to me, this is very much becoming a thing. And actually, the reason why I put it into the sheet, I was a little bit reluctant to put it in, but I've had people come and talk to me about it outside of cards.
Yeah.
You know, friends, colleagues.
Well, it's been on the news.
My wife's work colleagues. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so it makes me think maybe this is actually something we should be discussing and bringing some light to, because actually that's the main thing I wanted to talk to you about is,
it's about awareness it's about creating awareness and understanding what's happening.
Well, there's more and more footage coming out of them. Their faces from the CCTV, and they're not always they're wearing face covers, but not fully fledged face covers. So I've been sitting there trying to really pause it, see if I can screenshot it. But, you know, it's very pixelated. But my sort of gut feeling of, you know, fast forwarding to the end of this, I think someone's going to identify who they are.
I hope so. I really
just a matter of time, because
it's been
my sort of gut feeling
11 stores inside the last 8 weeks or something.
Yeah, actually, let's go back to the start. Adam, tell the story about how this is all
Uh,
unfolding and coming out. Yeah.
so throughout Victoria, as I just touched on, over the last sort of 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks, I think it was around about 10 stores when I first heard. Oh, sorry, it was 8 stores when I first heard, but then it
Yeah.
was different stores around the place. One place got broken into twice, and then some very reputable, well-known stores also getting targeted by this, and it's all in the Melbourne metro area,
And out of north,
and
but
the
yeah.
suburbs. But yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
Melbourne. Melbourne,
Yeah.
Victoria is
Correct. Melbourne, Victoria. Yep.
it's not like one shop in Australia and then a different state and a different state. This is in a capital city,
Correct.
and
yeah.
in the surrounding suburbs. But I think we're now it's either 11 or 12
Yeah,
inside the last 3 months,
Yeah.
and that's not a coincidence. That's not an opportunistic. Oh, what's in here?
Yep.
This is very targeted. This is a very concerning group of individuals going in and breaking into stores, and they're targeting the Pokemon stock.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about how they're breaking into the shops first, and then we'll talk about what they're stealing
Yeah.
in a sec. So they are relatively well organized, and the reason for that is because they're stealing cars to do the break-ins. So they actually have identified the cars that have been used in the theft, but at the same time, they've already been noted as stolen cars.
Stolen vehicles.
There's that part of it too. So obviously, it's not their first time committing crime, so they're obviously quite around that. The other thing they've said too is that they're very adept at breaking into places and quite quickly. So they're using crowbars and other sort of heavy tools to break into places. And then the third part of showing that they're organized criminals or someone who's done it before is that they are very targeted in what they want. So there's some suggestion within the hobby community that actually they're going to the hobby stores before they're robbing them, casing them out, working out where everything is, hitting the places, going to exactly what they need, and getting in and out within sort of 5 or 10 minutes. And so it's not enough time for security services to respond. They're getting away before the police are attending the scene. And this is not a sledge at the Victorian police, but they're not exactly known for quickly attending crimes. Like they're often very busy doing other things. And so, we had an assault in our street. This is going back a few months ago, but the police didn't turn up for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And this was an assault with machetes. And so, the police are just very much under the pump, and it's not like in the movies where they turn up immediately and start chasing the bad guys down the street.
Chasing through the streets and stealing garbage trucks and smashing property. Like it's
not how the Victorian police are,
No, speaking of garbage trucks, didn't they use a wheelie bin in one of the...
Yeah, that's right. So that's the other part of their MO is that they're using a wheelie bin to
load
move
everything
all the stock
up
out,
and
which
wheel
is,
it out.
I suppose it's portable. You can put a lot of stuff into it. You move it around corners pretty quickly. I'm not calling the criminals smart here by any means, but in terms of the logistics of it, it's quite smartly organized. Yeah.
They're probably not thinking of the quality of the cards and if they're damaging them, chucking them in wheelie bins.
Oh, look, I mean, they're criminals, right? True. So let's talk about what they're stealing. So they're stealing Pokemon. My suspicion of the reason why they're stealing Pokemon is because it's not serial numbered, and I suspect it's easier for them to move the stock on without being identified. But at the same time, too, the amount of stock that they've stolen. So some shop owners are saying it's $20,000 of stock they're coming in and stealing. Other people are saying it's up to $100,000. Like, that's not easy to move that amount of stock in such a short period of time without other people knowing about it. So
are they stealing predominantly sealed product, or are they
sealed product is the main thing.
Are they also taking singles? Because that's the thing. In one of the interviews I was watching, and they were talking about cards, and all they're showing is graded Pokemon cards with thousands of dollars on the price tags.
I think they're doing that for the TV
for context
sets, but I think what they've actually been, that's right. They're trying to demonstrate the high value of some of these cards, but from what I understand, the majority of the stuff that's been stolen is sealed product.
Yeah,
they have been stealing some singles, but that's been a very small portion of what's been taken.
Okay,
I mean, so my theory around that is that they would then be breaking them on, say, a breaking platform. Not that this is in any way affiliated, but for example, Whatnot.
Yeah.
Where you're relatively anonymous. there's an expectation that a high volume of stock will be rolling through these breaking platforms. And so if you're lifting the stuff, none of it's serial numbered, none of it's numbered at all. It's actually kind of a clever play. Again, not trying to give them kudos in any, form whatsoever.
No, but stealing the graded cards would lead to trouble because you'd be able to track them down. You'd know.
That's right.
You'd identify them as stolen.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Like if the stores have got records, inventories of all their graded cards, then...
Yeah. Actually, tying this back into the interview I just did with Chris, my sort of crazy idea about what can we do in the future to trace product and putting a GPS into it, I think that would be like a really interesting thing, because if the report was stolen, you'd be able to immediately
report it to PSA or whoever you grade with, right? Have a central base.
Well, what I was thinking was actually sealed cases. I think it would be too hard to label every single box, but if you had like a small tracker in a case that you could then track back. So in the instance that it was stolen, that actually would be another really useful tool to then say, okay, this is where this stolen case has now been moved to. So then you could actually track it down in that sense.
Yeah.
It's a crazy idea.
It's concerning to know that stores are being targeted in this way.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's a good thing that people individually haven't been targeted. That's where I suppose my concerns lie.
You're talking about that off air. Why don't you flesh that idea out a little bit more?
So I guess the onflow to this, or the more global version of this, is because a lot of colleagues of mine and people outside of the hobby have seen this on the news, and they've gone, "What's going on here? Like, surely it's not that bad. Like, are the cards worth that much?"
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that trading cards are worth a lot of money.
Yeah, which also leads me to think it's an inside job, because there are people in the hobby that do appreciate it and understand where the value lies.
Yeah.
So I don't think these people... I actually wonder if these people are very much deep-seated into the hobby. Because that's the other thing too. How do you shift that much product without knowing people
without
in the
knowing
hobby?
what to do, where to go? Because you're not going to cash converters with $100,000 worth of Pokemon stock.
Which is the other reason why I think it's just a matter of time before these gooses get caught.
And I do hope I think I share the same views as you. It's that we really hope they get caught and brought to justice really quickly. I can't imagine it's going to be easy for the stores to get their stock back.
We're not talking about lynching these people or mob violence. We're talking about through the court system, aren't we? We're not advocating for any forms of violence.
No, we're not advocating that. I'm not going to turn vigilante. And
this is not Backyard Breaks podcast, is it?
No, it's not. No, I definitely hope they're brought to justice. I think the bigger problem is, well, not bigger problem. Sorry, the lesson here is just be careful who you tell what your product, what your cards are worth. Like,
that's your takeaway. Yeah.
My big thing is they've seen. So if they're in the hobby, then I guess they already knew this stuff. But when they're not in the hobby, they don't realize what potentially sealed products worth, like holding onto it and things like that. But they see dollar signs, and it draws unwanted attention. I think the break-ins are the unwanted attention I'm talking about. But if you're if you're at a bar and you're telling somebody in earshot that you have cards that are worth tens of thousands of dollars,
yeah, and
then like somebody follows you home, breaks into your house, and you lose that your basketball cards. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be going, check this out. This card's worth $50,000.
Yeah.
And then someone tears your house open and upside down looking for a $50,000 card.
Yeah.
Or goes to the vault, looks for your vault because they know your trading cards are worth money.
This to me is actually an interesting one, because when I go to, say, Hobby Hangout, I take a box of cards, like my trading box. Yeah. I don't even particularly watch it.
Yeah.
And actually, I've never had someone steal a card from me. And so, from that sort of perspective, I actually think most people in the hobby...
Oh, look, when I say most of them are honest, for sure.
99% of people that you interact with actually are, really good about it. And this is how I sort of feel about this. This is an extreme example of that 1% that just spoils it for everybody. Yeah. And so it's like, well, what actually can you do about this? I think at the end of the day, they just have to make sure they've got insurance.
Be insured, be careful.
That they've got, some video cameras, and they have, some semblance of making it difficult for people to break in. But I think at the end of the day, you can put all of these protections in place, and you're always going to have, people like this, which is just an unfortunate part. Hey, just like really quickly before we move on from this, Do you think that they view themselves, I'm talking about the robbers now, as like some form of Robin Hood, in
No,
that the sheriff of Nottingham is,
no.
in this instance, is like the hobby shops, and they're
Pokemon.
actually liberating the Pokemon from these like
No.
greedy owners or something like that? Like I sort of had that thought the other day because what's happening with Pokemon is what is it selling for double, triple what the RRP
True,
currently is at the
but
moment.
Pokemon tend to reprint that stuff.
Yeah, well, that's
My
something else
other
that's
point
happening
to
in
that,
Pokemon,
right?
isn't it?
Like,
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends in the Pokemon community, and they're like, I don't know why people are fighting at Walmart, breaking into stores. They run out of product. You know what Pokemon will do? They'll just print more.
Well, they actually are doing that, but that was something that was unannounced. That was
Yeah,
the other thing about that too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
All right.
yeah, it's one of those things that my final thought is just be careful and be careful who you tell what you have that's of value. If you're
Yeah.
an individual collector. All good to be proud of your cards, but I wouldn't go and putting monetary value on them because there are ears out there.
Yeah. Yeah. All righty, let's get to a break. Let us thank the Melbourne Cartel. And I think if I'm counting my numbers right, this is our last advertisement with these guys. So Darren and Team Melbourne Cartel, we really hope that in the future we can work with you again. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor.
Love it. It's been great.
And thank you for everything that you've done for us. So basically, the Melbourne Cartel are a Melbourne based repack business, AFL, NBA, NFL, UFC card grading, on demand shipping, card accessories are also sold there. The Hitman series is $35 per packet. Darren works on a 1 in 4 type ratio where there's not particularly one huge hit in each one. It's
Yeah.
like a 1 in 4 hit ratio that you would expect to be getting out of them. So the value is more evenly distributed. The other thing that's important to us, and one of the major reasons why we signed up to do advertising for Darren, is that all of the cards in his repacks are available in a list for you to get to. So again, Darren,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Go to melbournecardtel.au for all of their services. And I think that the promo code will still work for one more week.
Nice.
Comp this 10 for 10% off all of your goods and services there. Adam, we're back. How are you, buddy?
I'm great. I'm great. Excited
Feeling
for the
good?
ready for the home stretch.
Home stretch. Right. What would you like to talk about first? Mac McClung or Markel Fultz back in the league?
Well, Fult's back in the league. Let's touch on that. He's gone to your old team.
Yeah.
Sacramento are making moves.
I deny them being my old teammate. They're dead to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Some
honestly.
random team in Sacramento.
Yeah, sorry.
They don't know what
Some
they're doing.
California team. That's
Oh,
all I'll refer to them as. Look, I love this. For me, it was really difficult for me to understand why Marco Fultz was out of the league. So
yeah. I think he just
I'm
didn't find a
really
spot in Orlando, really. Didn't he just not gel there?
look. I'm really not too sure. And actually, there's been nothing said about this at all. So that could just be that the Magic's such a classy organization they wouldn't let anything slip out.
Yeah.
My gut feeling, it was a contract negotiation thing where he wanted 10 million a year and they were offering him, say, 3 million a year. I honestly think that's what the end of that was. And so, here we are. He's back in the league. Look, he didn't look to me to be in awesome shape. So I'm sort of not anticipating he's going to be coming back and lighting the world on fire.
Speaking of random Philadelphia picks that are back in the league, did you hear that Ben Simmons has moved to Los Angeles?
How do you feel about that?
I think it's funny. He's going to play 2 games and then he'd be done. We saw back again. He'll be fine.
Look, actually, for me, he might be the best minimum paid player in the league, and maybe that's just his future.
Fine. Yeah, just keep going around. But you pay him more than the minimum, and but he's already cashed in. He's fine.
He's not the number 1 pick in the league anymore. That day is absolutely sailed, and he's definitely not a number 1 option on a team. And so I think once you sort of get past that, he's actually a very serviceable NBA player.
Serviceable rotation NBA player. Simple as that.
Him with Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, though, that's a decent team. Plus Norman Powell, how well he's playing at the moment.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool team. Matthew Yuga did a really good segment about Ben Simmons and the pricing and how far he's come down. So his PSA 10 silver is currently selling for just $27.
Frankly,
Population on
that's
that's
overs.
139.
That's overs
Look,
for me.
I actually think that's a really good buy. No, so the reason I say that is because the population's low. You're
Yeah,
always
true.
going to have Aussies collecting this guy, and it's also one of those things too. It's like it's not going to go down any more than $20. So
Yeah, it's $20 card. Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
You're right. Yeah, good point. I like it.
that's totally fine. Uh, Look, I actually don't have any Ben Simmons at all. So would I buy that for $26? Yeah, I think that's a pretty good buy. Yep.
Yeah.
Mac McClung. Let's talk about that really quickly. What do you got for me?
Mac McClung. Oh my goodness. The three-peat. We were hoping for a three-peat from, well, some of us were in the Super Bowl a week ago. We didn't
Yep.
get it there, but we got a three-peat in the dunk contest. So, Mac McClung collectors, is it buy, held, sell time? I think it's very much sell time because this is the time of year for the last 3 years that it's been Mac McClung season. Get those cards out. That third dunk though over the car with the guy holding the ball out, and he jumped over the car and dunked it. Yeah, class act.
I feel like that was just paying tribute to Blake Griffin at that point.
Well,
honestly,
it's a 20-year anniversary of Vince Carter. I thought it'd be the time to give props to Vince, but not.
Can anyone else do those Vince dunks though? They were just insane.
True. Very true.
All right. So my perspective on Mac McClung is that it's not a buy, a hold, or a sell. It's if you like the guy, you buy it, and
like
it's
the
not
guy,
really
buy the
something that's
guy.
going to go up and down that much. And so the other thing too is he's a known commodity now. He's not particularly known as an NBA guy. He's a slam dunk competition guy. That's about it.
He
I
plays
actually
in the
don't
G
think.
League, doesn't he? Mainly
I think he's on a two-way contract with Orlando,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I'm not really expecting him to break out in the league and become an all-star or anything like that. Look, if you want to
Correct.
buy some of his cards, I think that's fine. But for me, it's a PC. I don't see any sort of flip potential on that at all.
For sure.
Hey, mate, for this next one, can we please do the SGA Rise? And are you able to step through this on the video so that we can do it like that?
Oh, I can do that. Hang on,
And then I'll just introduce the segment. I'll edit this out and then I'll introduce the segment.
Let's see if I can get in there. Yes, it's me. I'm just approving logins.
Beautiful.
Yes, trust this device. Hurry up and give me the story. Thank you.
Do you need me to log you in? Or you
No. It's my personal Facebook that wouldn't link to the. Okay, so which one are we looking at? We're at.
So I can give you the instructions. You just have to go to card ladder, but can you do it on the screen so people at home can watch it?
We can play this at home. Card ladder. Dashboard card ladder. Done.
All good.
Card ladder. Yep, I'm on the dashboard.
Great. Okay, guys. So for people listening at home, this is a little bit of a tutorial for using card ladder and another feature out of that. So this is looking at the undervalued list, and actually at the moment it's changed quite a lot in the last couple of weeks. So if you go to card ladder,
Yep.
go to indexes.
Indexes
on the left-hand side.
Left-hand side. It's about halfway down the screen. Indexes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scroll down to basketball, which is on the right-hand side.
Find basketball. Yep.
Then click on cards. So there's a little tab at the top.
Oh, stats and cards. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then when that comes up, you can then click on undervalued percentage, which is one of the drop downs on the right-hand side on the filter.
Score value.
Yep.
Undervalued percentage. There we go.
Yeah. So when you go to that, it'll bring up actually like quite a nice list. And some of the data in this is a little bit flawed. So for example, the Steph Curry is saying it's 7,600% undervalued. The reason for that is obviously that's excellent metrics by card ladder, but it hasn't sold for a long time, this card.
Yep.
So take that one aside. Start to scroll down a little bit.
LeBron, Giannis.
Yeah, but for me, where it starts to get saucy is SGA, and he's right up the top there. So on that nice fast break bronze to 20 raw. I think the other thing about this too, because this statistics are so unbiased, it's all driven by data. That's not a card that I would particularly, think about, like particularly a fast break. Like they're not something that's, overly chased. So I think that's really cool to see that up there really high. You've got more LeBrons. You got some Jordan sprinkled in there, which I think is really good. You've got some Kobe's.
Iversons, yeah.
And now this is where we get to the really juicy stuff. We've got SGA, Kobe, Nikola Jokic. And this is a card we've been talking about the last few weeks.
Mate,
and then SGA back in there again with his vertical NT RPA.
Oh, yep.
And then more Jordan, all the way down through here. Actually, really interesting. The Showstoppers refractor is there too.
Yeah.
Interesting. That looks like a direct copy off a Hoops card, doesn't it? Yeah, so look, I think this is another one of those tools that, we don't talk about, we don't really look at too much. I think this is a really good guide to help you do it. You can, and there's all different types of, ways you can look at different cards here. There's values, there's last sold, there's populations, there's monthly growth. You can look at all the, the monthly changes and stuff like that. So I just thought that was really interesting and maybe also too, it's a snapshot of how well SGA is playing this year and how much extra hobby attention, he's getting. And I suppose it's also, in my mind, this is actually a way to measure the marketplace in terms of how hot SGA is and also potentially how undervalued he is. Because realistically, he's got to be an MVP this year, isn't he?
SGA, well, it's either him or Jokic, right? We're halfway through the season. There's still half a season to go.
I just think with the record of the Thunder, it's going to be really tough to look past him.
But if something happens...
Yeah.
But you're right. The name that stands out the most, like Jokic being on the undervalue, doesn't surprise me. Shaq, Kobe, God, there's a Pippen there as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And Pippen is underrated. That absolutely, agreed. He does not get enough hobby love.
There's a lot of SGA, which is actually quite shocking. Like the Steph Currys, the Kobe's.
Do you know the one I'm actually surprised is Jordan? There's a lot of Jordan there. Like, how much love does Jordan get, and it still values it as unders?
Well, maybe they're just like undervalued.
Other Jordans.
Yeah, compared to other Jordans.
Yeah.
Like what they appraise that card to be worth relative to other cards.
Yeah.
Maybe. Scrolling right down, apparently Damian Lillard's rookie is Prism Green is underrated.
Yeah.
But that's maybe because he's gone to Milwaukee now, so the people are chasing the green.
Yeah, not too sure. All right, how about we pick one more card off this each and then we'll tie off today's show. That's pretty much we're done, mate.
Wow.
My last card to pick off is the 2015 Excalibur by Chris Paul. I think that's really cool. And I think, again, that just sort of re-emphasizes in my own head just how important kabooms are. And particularly guys like Chris Paul who aren't overly represented in case hits. Yeah. I think that's actually like a really clever...
Well, that's... Well, while we're on... kabooms, why don't I just finish with another kaboom as well?
Of course.
Which one shall I pick? There's a few kabooms here that are actually considered...
There's a Kobe, there's a LeBron.
There's one of the LeBrons caught my eye, the 2015 Excalibur LeBron kaboom. Yeah, undervalued.
Yeah.
But it's saying it was BGS 10 black label. That's why it's undervalued.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that's, the Cleveland horizontal. So it's not the vertical. It's a bit of a weird look.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to today's show. We really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks, Adam. That was a wonderful show. It was good to catch up with you today.
It was good, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the next time Chris Gorlick arranges a time to chat. I'd like to be there.